All right, glad you're up. He's been imprisoned inside a Mexican jail since August for carrying a gun he thought was legal, but despite the very public efforts by the family of retired Marine Jon Hammar, he won't be coming home this Christmas. The State Department says there's nothing it can do, and the State Department and the statement from the White House, ridiculous.
Well, I'll have to take the question because I don't know the facts myself on that, so I'll have to take the question.
Inexcusable. Doesn't he deserve better than that? After all, we have good relations with Mexico, and this is a Marine that already gave us his service in Iraq and Afghanistan. Whiton is a former senior advisor to the State Department. So there's a gun misunderstanding. He ends up chained to a bed in a Mexican jail since August. Why isn't the State Department doing something? Chris, you've been down this road.
Yep, well, the State Department prizes good relations with other governments above all else, but they just need to realize that we have someone who's fought for our freedom in a perilous situation, getting venal treatment, and it's been handled only at a very low level. It needs to be handled by Secretary Clinton herself or even the President.
So, Christian, you point out that things have changed. If this was 1989 or 1994, we didn't have good relationships with Mexico in this area. There's a bit of a jealousy and anger, but that has dissipated since 2000. Why aren't we taking advantage of that?
No, that's right, Brian. In 2000, Vicente Fox got elected reformist president, followed by another reformist, Calderon. Now we have a new president in Mexico, Pena-Nieto, who's part of the old party, the PRI, but he's sort of like the Tony Blair of Mexico. He's reformed the left party and wants to continue good relations with the U.S. and the reforms. So a lot of leverage, just a lot of goodwill that we could tap into. It's not a big deal. Secretary Clinton makes phone calls every day. Why can't she make one for a Marine in need before Christmas? Really not that hard to do. Also, we have a huge economic relationship with Mexico. They're number 3 behind Canada and China, about $460 billion a year. So a lot of levers we can use here, but we should start just by asking.
So if we cannot get the Secretary of State's attention or the Assistant Secretary of State's attention, do you think American people or Marines out there should start canceling vacation, tourist trips, any cruises to that area? Is there anything else we can do?
Yeah, I think when Mexico realizes what's on the line and some of the things you just mentioned, you know, of that $460 billion, a huge amount is tourism, Americans consuming Mexican tourism. And really when they, you know, this man has already been in jail for more than 4 months. He tried to follow the law. He thought he was. He declared the weapon to the border guard. Is it really worth them sort of gaining this venal, corrupt image on top of all the violence that we already associate with Mexico? Do they want to pay the millions and millions, possibly even hundreds of millions or billions in lost tourism just so they can do whatever it is that the corrupt local government is doing to this Marine? It's really odd.
And question with your experience at the highest level of diplomacy, and as well as being American, what would you recommend? If this was your family member, what would you do?
Well, I think the family is doing the right thing, which is spreading the word about this. You know, it is true that Mexico has tough gun laws, but it seems as though this gentleman, Hammar, has been singled out for particularly venal treatment. So spreading awareness about it, getting more people to engage the Mexican government. But, you know, we had a term in the State Department. It's let's do diplomacy. And we haven't really attempted that in this case. It could be as simple as a phone call from President Obama to his counterpart or from Hillary to her counterpart.
What if Marines started bombarding the State Department with phone calls?
I think that would be a good thing. You know, it's been handled by the Department of Consular Affairs, which is a bit of a stepchild in the State Department. Britain has separated that out of their foreign ministry. We probably ought to do the same. This needs to be handled by the Western Hemisphere Affairs Department, a regional secretary. That would be a step up, or going above that to the Undersecretary for Political Affairs or to Secretary Clinton. Literally, there's not a whole lot going on in the diplomatic calendar now. It's a chance for her to get to know her counterpart in Mexico better, so why not pick up the phone?
Whiton, you just gave us 12 things to do. I hope everyone at home does some of them. Thanks so much for joining us today. Have a great Christmas.
Thanks, Brian. Merry Christmas.
All right, still ahead. Matt Damon's new movie out to show.